What's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we're going to be taking a look over here at the altcoin market, taking a look at a lot of the under the hood indicators on the larger time frames to see how we're doing as we now see these altcoin market caps really fighting back against that 200-week moving average in here, not only for others, but over here for total 3, which is going to include the entire altcoin market, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. Total 2, which does include Ethereum, it just doesn't include Bitcoin. And like we talked a moment ago, others, it's going to include all the altcoins excluding the top 10. So that's going to get the stable coins out like USDT and USDC, but it's also going to remove Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Cardano, a lot of them, just a lot of the mid to lower caps in here and see how they're doing as well as we all battle here against the 200-week moving average. Of course, we'll look at some individual coins as well, like the XRP price chart, as we have stalled here for like the last 24 to 36 hours. But even after that one-day stall in the market, we're seeing some stuff start to continue marching up, like Chainlink, which now just bypassed the floor that was set there in July of 2021. Matic keeps marching. Polkadot setting another new daily high here in this streak, along with some new coins like Sui. So as the market felt its first correction for about a week, that was the first one day of a correction. We can see others in the altcoin market caps are still continuing to march a little bit higher. But this is coming off of yesterday's bigger move that happened over there in Bitcoin. When it quickly shot itself back up, it had gotten down to about $34,600. And then boom, it shot its way up to almost hitting $36,000 again, which is really just right along in line with what we've been watching in here, expecting kind of continuation of higher highs and higher lows to still keep shifting its way in here. Of course, this is what I'm cheering for. There's no question the last couple of years for Bitcoin have been just practically a mirror of what happened in 2014 to 2016. Jury is still out on if that's going to be the case or if this has gone ahead and changed itself a little bit and we're actually heading into a really exciting time here in the market as we were at the end of 2020. Now, for the last month, we spent some time really talking about that correlation between Bitcoin and the stock market, but that's not new. We've talked about that for years. In the last month, talking more about Bitcoin and the crypto markets tie with big tech. I had written a newsletter about a month ago called Bitcoin's Secret Dance, Money or Tech, unraveling the cryptocurrency conundrum and the price chart correlation, showing, of course, these correlations to 2016 and the insane price action that has happened right on time, but also that the peaks and the bottoms have been really correlated with not only the stock market, but very specifically the technology sector of the stock market. We had presented the idea that we also ranged just like this for big tech. Big tech eventually broke itself out. Now, looking over here at big tech currently right now, or the NASDAQ 100 technology sector, you can see it's had a good week. We even had Microsoft have its highest daily candle close yesterday. And so one thing to know about what was going on in the markets during this time here back in October and November of 2020 is that we were seeing strength emerge over there in the stock market. So right now it's, will it do it too? I think one of the biggest post-traumatic stress disorder situations that this market has, especially for the people that were here through 2019 through 2020, was that it felt like we were coming off of the lows and it felt like everything was going to be okay. And then we got slammed with C19 and the prices went back and hit the lows. So as we were in this period recently where everybody's screaming for 12K as Bitcoin's sitting at $25,000, the market was already fearful. And I presented the idea that like, hey, look, if you're ever going to get any type of C19 thing where you're going to slam back into the lows because everybody's pointing to C19 and saying we're going to do it, well, the thing to remember of what happened in the market is the market priced it in ahead of time before it ended up happening. We rallied up and then boom, we had C19 happen and slam back into the lows. We didn't set new lows over here on others or over here in the altcoin market. We just hit the lows, and the same was true over here for Bitcoin. But the thing that was memorable about it was that we actually rallied first. So what you had here is you had this pull down and you have everybody screaming, we're going to have a C19 crash and then break down. That's just not how it worked, right? We rallied first, priced it into the market, and then slammed back into the lows. And so, as we sit here and we do this, the thing that people may remember or not is how deep into it were we, right? It was about 2 years after the peak. It was like 2 years and 3 months after the peak of the market. So while we can look at underneath the hood indicators to see that our indicators all point to our top was, way back over here. And we've talked about that in extreme detail over here on the channel. that our peaks show up just, as they do, right? This is the peak of 2017 and 2018. You can see it just falls off a cliff, falls off a cliff. That's what we have happen over here in April of 2021. It falls off a cliff, and that was the peak of the market. But we ran sideways, right? And then, you have this little teeny tiny little push up to a new highs. And, a lot of people say, no, this is the high. But we definitely absolutely see it in all the data. This was the peak of our market back here in April. And a lot of the altcoins show that too, right? Where is the height and the peak of XRP? It's back there in April. Where's the peak of Dogecoin? Where's the peak of Litecoin, Monero, right? I could name off 100 assets if we went through the whole list and say, look, their peaks all happened back here in April. It's even why when we look over here at this 2016 price behavior, that the peak is back here in April, right? And you see all the price behavior happening in line as if the peak was back here, and that this rally just got carried away with itself, but was super weak. The altcoins did not rally with it. Yes, you had a couple that go off and do it, but the vast majority of the market did not. And you could see all the price behavior mimicking the peak actually being back here, right? We even escaped this range right now. You consolidate in that range, peaks, everything back here, right? April and May. But of course, we are, just a little bit over 2 years now. We're like right at 2 years of when the number hit that high, right? Which would have been right back over here. And so there's a lot of post-traumatic stress to say, hey, or we're just kind of drifting, or are we now going to do the C19 sell-off that's going to happen down in here? And I thought, well, let's look at some of the under the hood indicators to say, hey, are we acting more like this, like heading into an exciting time period? Are we acting more like 2016? Or are we acting like we're kind of pricing in this little rally before, the stock market rolls over, everything rolls over and everything hits the fan and we go slam back down into the lows again? Is price behavior, is underneath indicators mimicking what was happening right in here before that happened? That this is kind of a fake rally of us just pricing in the market for a slam? Or are we seeing more behavior like this right here in this spot, which is what we keep referencing to between these guys right here? Well, I think the first thing we have to do is at least just acknowledge what was going on in 2018 through 2020, and then acknowledge why the peak of our market came in where it did in 2021. If you didn't have this thesis heading into 2021, likely got very surprised on why Bitcoin had the smallest bull run that it's ever had in a cycle before. Whereas you move back just a little bit to take a look at 2013 and where the breakout happened for Bitcoin in 2017 and ended up running, almost 1,700% from the all-time high. Whereas you head over here to 2020 and 2021, based on 2017's all-time high, price only goes 250% higher than the all-time high, and then boom, that's it. The thing is that Bitcoin has done multiple super cycles of the same length, of this exact same thing, and having to understand that this whole phase is all part of one big super cycle. It just takes longer. And we even see the phases of the super cycle happening in here, including there in 2018 through 2020. We can see how the market peaks here. We can see how the market bottoms here. And then we can see every phase in between. We could see how the market rallies off the lows, goes back into a retracement, and then A, B, C's back to the lows before it can go off into a bull run. And that's exactly what we had happen over here in 2018 and 2020, is that we rally off the lows and then we A, B, C, back to the lows, just as we did in this phase of our super cycle, then go off and run, and then go off into a long duration bearish period. And what's interesting about this too is, right, we'd be looking for this type of correction to be happening from right here. Doesn't look the same, right? Well, it does, right? That's what this is. This whole 2014 through 2016 overlay here, and all this price action happening where it's supposed to, and these breakouts that are happening where they're supposed to, literally is this thing. And it's all happening, right on the schedule that it's supposed to be happening on in here. From these peaks, ranges, breakouts. It just looks morphed, so it kind of throws everybody off. But to understand, hey, this is a particular phase that even actually happens in this phase of a super cycle. It's called a wave 4 consolidation contracting triangle, that it's almost like the C19 sell-off was baked into the cake to eventually happen. We've discussed this idea a lot when we look at just the long-term historical price action of Bitcoin and understanding its recoveries, and then noticing a super cycle recovery, recovery and acknowledging that this is not a super cycle recovery. This is a mid-cycle pause, as we had here, as we're discussing right here. This is not the end of a super cycle, but this is the end of a super cycle. And that is what threw off the market so tremendously in here. And so you say, well, is that C19 sell-off, is that little rally that happens in here totally unexpected, totally unpredictable, and it shouldn't have happened here? Well, somehow, some way, it was baked into the cake of that's what is supposed to actually happen in here. That if we draw this thing out and just stretch it, we could see it in there. That you see how an A, B, C happens here in this style of a range. Back into retracements, back to the lows. And that in this phase, right, we go look at all of these recoveries that have happened in here. What always happens, right? We build a range, we break from it, we backtest the top of the range, build a range, break from it, backtest the top of the range, build a range, break from it. That's what we do in all of these recoveries after super cycles. However, in this one, what do? We just completely break out and rampage away from it, never backtesting the support level, then A, B, C, back to backtest the support level, right? Have we done that big raging run in here off of these lows like we did back in 2018? No, definitely not. We've done exactly what we've done through the recoveries, which is build a range, backtest it, build a range. Now we're into a new range. So of course we have the post-traumatic stress to say, hey, we could do it again because we've done it before. Well, we also do have to remember this is a particular phase. This was not the completion of a super cycle. This whole period is merely this. But as we can see, cycles are getting longer and longer as time goes on. So let's take a look under the hood. Let's take a look at big, massive monthly indicators and see if we are flashing anything similar to like we were flashing in here before that ended up happening and we got that big sell-off to take us back down to the lows, not only here on Bitcoin, but over here on the altcoin market as it rallies and then pulls back down. We had it over here on others, and of course, even here on Ethereum, right? So let's look underneath here. Let's take a look at these large indicators to see what was happening for Bitcoin at that time. We know that we had actually done this huge rally in here, right? So we could take a look down here at the stochastic RSI and see that big pull up in stochastic RSI in here. And then as the months go on and on and on, and we drift and drift and drift, we see weakness downtrending here in the monthly RSI, and we see the stochastic RSI just drifting down and down and down, continuing to drift until finally C19 happens and we plunge and then we hit. Is that the same here? No, right? We crossed back up, super high, super strong. We can even look here on the MACD. We could see that we're trending down in here leading up to C19. There's C19 right there. And well, then finally we reverse. But are we doing that? No, we're just plowing ahead, right? Way more strength now than we even did back here in this recovery right in here. We can look over here at the altcoin market like at others, right? Here is C19. There's where the sell-off happens. We could see that our stochastic RSI worked up to about 50 to 60%, then stalled out in here, still stalling, not showing extreme strength to break out and get bullish yet. And then boom, we go back and we hit those lows once again there for C19. Once C19 passes us by, stochastic RSI then works its way up. What do we have happening in here? Did we stall out in here? No, not at all, right? We're acting like this, right? We've gone rampaging to the upside. You could see here, even on the MACD, we had never even flipped green, right? And once we finally flip green is actually here in April of 2020 after C19 has already happened. And then the stochastic starts finally to go. Right? We're already flipping green over here on the MACD with the stochastic surging here. Looking over here at total 3, right? The entire altcoin market, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. What's going on in here? We have that summer rally that happens in 2019, and then just all hope and weakness is set into the market. Stochastic RSI is falling off of a cliff. We're still down here at the lows. Finally, C19 happens, plow, super weakness. Then finally stochastic can break out and the market starts rallying with it, right? Where are we at right now? We have not come pulling way back down. We're not showing weakness in the market. We're not sitting at the lows. The momentum has swung completely with the altcoin market to the upside. And the story is the same over here on total 2, right? Here's the rally that happens into June of 2019, peaks, pulling back, does not break above the June 2019 peak in stochastic RSI. C19 happens as we're still weak. We're under 50% on stochastic RSI. Boom, we hit it. Finally, we can get going, and off and away the market goes into the massive bull run. look what we're doing now, right? Running. We haven't had this long period of weakness that is hitting the market. We've kind of already gone through all of that. So the point I'm trying to make is that this market is definitely not acting like 2019 leading into a crash. Does it mean that there's not going to be flash crashes? History shows us we're going to have flash crashes all the time. They always end up happening. Even in here, leading up into this, like even if our timing is right on schedule in here, eventually that's some flash crashing that happens in here from these higher prices. Even though we still maintain ourselves, there were still flash crashes that ended up happening in there. So there are going to be days where we see negative 30% in the market for sure. Like anytime I've ever attempted to convince myself that can't happen, it certainly does it. But the point is that, one, we're not in a similar phase to C19, right? We just know we're not in there. And two, we can look under here and see that our strength indicators are definitely much stronger than they were at that time. And that's a great sign. So worrying about C19, we're not seeing it in the indicators, and we know we're not in an appropriate place for it to actually be happening at. We see more strength in Bitcoin, and we see more strength in the altcoin market than we did at that time right now. We could see how weak we were. We could see how strong we are. This is pretty much maxed out at 100% strength over here on the stochastic RSI. It can't go higher than that. It can get up here and just stay here. But that's how much stronger we are right now compared to how we've been. And that's not what the case was back here, right? We just weren't able to get like raging strength in the market and still just kept waffling around and then just completely lost it. And so the strength we're seeing right now in the altcoin market, we haven't seen strength this strong since March and April of 2021, and that is incredibly different from what was going on in 2020. It has been pretty fun watching a lot of these assets build up this strength, such as Chainlink. You can see the stochastic RSI is just surging in maximum strength here. It's even stronger than it was really at the peak of the bull run. XRP has been working back into those bull market territories that it's in. And it's like, one of those things we're talking about developer data and showing like underlying strength in certain stuff, right? And how that performed back in 2021. And it's like, this isn't the case for everything, right? Like we totally see this in Total 3, that there's all this strength building up in the market. But again, like in 2021, there is some isolation to that. We see that strength happening over here in Ethereum, building up way beyond those C19 levels, right? Way up. But like you don't see that over here on SHIB. Stochastic still sitting at the lows. We don't really see it over here on Litecoin, but you can find it on various assets within the market that are showing strength in here, while some of them are not flashing that same strength. And we'll see if that ends up being a thing at the end of it all, right? But it's really nice to see the ones that really are kind of important to this market, such as Bitcoin showing strength, such as XRP showing strength, and Ethereum showing strength. And then all the other coins that are pulling in the strength of the market in others, showing this market is not the same as 2019. And it's an exciting time right now. It's also a little bit of a nerve-wracking time because it's like, hey, are we going to like start really changing things up and start looking a whole lot more like 2020? Because we're not flashing weak signals yet. I mean, if we do, we'll address them, but we're not flashing them on big time frames yet. Are we going to start doing 2020? Or, is there going to be some pop here and then, it repeats 2016 again? And then, of course, the whole situation of if the United States stock market entirely hits the fan, then none of the models will work anymore. But either way, it's been quite a while since we've actually on this channel just gone and looked out at the bigger time frame stuff to say, are we still seeing those strengths happening there on the big time frames? Because I find that to be incredibly important. That's one of those things that was really ignored at the peak of Bitcoin back in 2021 when we were already seeing all the weaknesses emerge in there. It still took a while for Bitcoin to actually end up reversing, but we had all those signals saying, hey, look, big time frame stuff, it's not looking good. And I know we spend a lot of time, right now looking at the small to medium term stuff, or even this, a little bit longer term, but underneath it all on the big time stuff, are we seeing anything that's flashing warnings in Bitcoin, the altcoin market, XRP, or Ethereum? I'm not seeing it. I see strength here in the market still. The second those things do flash, we'll try to address them as fast as we possibly can. But we also spend time talking about XRP and stuff like this. Like, hey, are we going to get a breakout in here? Do we have the things aligning in here for us to go for something like that and go for a breakout to keep moving up? So far, the strength in the market still points to things were good. We're really strong. That will likely change at some point. And sometimes it can happen in a day where the picture just drastically changes. But right now is a pretty exciting time in the market. And I just wanted to show you that on the bigger time frame stuff. We get caught up in all this little stuff. We get caught up in the emotions of the day to day. Yesterday, market was kind of like, oh no, correction, we're doomed, right? Because we were getting so accustomed to so many green candles happening day after day after day after day that it becomes so micro focused on what's happening right now. Do we have green numbers on the right side of the screen today? Because that's very important. Today, we have to have it. And we just kind of lose sight of the big picture. And so I thought today I would like kind of take a step back a little bit. Let's look at the whole big picture. Let's make sure things are cool. And so far, it looks like everything is good on the big picture. And I hope you enjoyed seeing that, because I wanted to bring it up due to what happened in markets in the morning just a couple of days ago. Typically, the viewership in there is about 1,500 to 2,000 people. But then suddenly one day we have 4,000 to 4,500 in there. Why? The market gets really excited. There's like this euphoria moment and everybody has it all at the same time. It's this crazy phenomenon that I get to witness from my perspective and the chair that I sit in. I get to see the market do these things at the same time where like everybody's emotions react exactly the same. And how bizarre that is to think like, oh, we're all unique individual peoples, but then suddenly we all do the exact same thing at the exact same time. And it doesn't just have to be euphoria. It can be paranoia. It can be worry and concern. And like everybody does the exact same thing at the exact same time. And then what happens is the next day we get a pullback and then viewership drops to 2,500. Not a big deal. I don't care. But it's real interesting to see that. And what it means is it means that as a general public, we're all so like focusing on every single day. Am I seeing gains every day? Because I'm getting pretty used to seeing it. I'm getting gains every day. If I'm not getting gains every day, is something wrong? And the reality is we typically have upswings. You know, they don't last forever. We move up to a new range. We range there for quite some time and then eventually step to a new range. Right now is one of those exciting times where we're moving up. And whenever the things start flashing of warnings and concerns, well, hey, we'll try to find those as fast as we can. But rather than getting so super stuck in what's happening today, is there red on the screen or is there green on the screen? How do we look when we zoom out a little bit? Are we still okay? Is everything cool? Yeah? All right. Then hey, red days are okay. They're just kind of part of the game. But I do often get a little bit concerned about people's psychology and their emotions when you get this many strung together, because we get really, really, really focused on what's happening now, what's happening in this hour, what's happening in this moment. Can I run to Twitter and scream and take a screenshot every penny we move up on whatever asset it is? And sometimes we just kind of have to take a step back. And so today I wanted to take a step back. Even though it's not a red day, it's not like we're sitting here saying, look, guys, everything's okay. It's just bullish selling. No, it's a green day. But red days will come. And the question is, even when those red days do come, how are we looking on the big time frame? And I wanted to show you on the big time frame, things look pretty dang good. So I hope you like that. I hope you enjoyed it. I thank you so much for watching. I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping this thing up. If you'd like more content from me, of course, you could check out bcbacker.com. I've got over 40 videos and over 11 hours of content on here that I personally recorded, very similar to my YouTube channel, including, how to set up your own indicators and your own charts and patterns, historical behavior of the cryptocurrency market, teaching you about Wyckoff accumulation and distribution. Sounds tough stuff, but I try to break it down in a really easy to understand way to give you the ability to at least have a little bit of knowledge when you look at these charts and can do research for yourself. So there's downloadable PDFs in here as well for you. It's $39 one time, no subscription fees, right over here on bcbacker.com. I do have a subscription-based newsletter that is available at blockchainbacker.substack.com. My most recent one is talking about the altcoin market and talking about a case study that I did comparing the performance of the altcoins from the top 20 by market cap, like you see over there on Coin Market Cap, where most people typically go to say, hey, these are the top ranked coins. Let me take a look at these and add them to my portfolio. Doing a case study of compare those top 20 versus the top 20 by development activity in 2021 to see who was the better performer. The development activity group did win. So I go through that case study that I did in here with you guys in this newsletter. And then we also take a look at what are the top 20 coins right now by development activity. This is available over here on blockchainbacker.substack.com. There is a link to bcbacker.com and a link to my Substack down here in the description of this video and all of my videos. Otherwise, as we wait for Bitcoin to get a breakout or to make some type of decision, I hope you enjoyed this view on the bigger perspective of the market rather than getting caught in the day-to-day action. But all right, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick me up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.